Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season of Screams, the Legacy of Knott's Scary Farm's Halloween Haunt documentary. This is our very first episode that I'm calling The Screams Continue, so thanks for being here. My name is David Love. My company is Hollow Studios, and today I am here with my partner in crime and my best friend of 40 plus years, Mr. Hollywood himself, Scott Broad. Hey.
Hey, Mr. Hollywood. Oh my gosh.
Or you and your sunglasses there.
Hey guys, how you all doing out there? Partner in crime. Wow, that's pretty good. I mean, we've had a lot of years as partner in crime, but
A lot of years.
you
And I
know,
see, so we both have our Season of Screams posters behind us. So kind of makes it official that this is the official of Season of Screams. Screams continue. So
but do you notice how mine's larger?
yes, much bigger.
So what have you guys all been up to for the last 15, 20 years? All those people who used to follow us or purchased our DVD, our documentary on Knott's Scary Farm's Halloween Haunt. How are you all doing?
Yeah, comment below if you're watching and you remember seeing Season of Screams for the very first time when we released it back in 2004. And prior to that, we had our Haunted Media magazine on CD-ROM, and that's embarrassing to say, CD-ROM and then DVD. Comment below, let us know. So one of the main reasons we're doing this this vlog is because of COVID-19. A lot of the Halloween and haunted attractions across the country are not going to be open this year, and Knott's Scary Farm being one of them. They're not going to be able to open due to COVID. So we thought, why not? Let's dust off those digital files of Season of Scream, since it's been dormant for so many years, and put it up on YouTube so people can watch it and enjoy it. If you've never seen it before, it's a really fun story about how the Halloween Haunt began, the people who started it. And if you've seen it before on DVD, you can come back and see it again for the 100th time, maybe. Who knows, right? But anyway, it is on YouTube currently. Definitely have the links below so you can check it out.
For the people that have not seen Season of Screams, this is a wonderful documentary we've done with a lot of research, and you'll see the passion that went into this. This documentary is something to see because as the documentary goes through the history, it's quite a story. It's an amazing story. And at the very beginning, I don't think they knew what they had.
We produced this back in 2002. It took us a couple of years to do, and then we released it at Knott's Berry Farm in 2004 on a DVD. But it was a great time and a lot of hard work. It was a labor of love. Enjoyed every minute of doing it and the people that we met along the way. So that's what this is about. We're just trying to give back to the haunted attraction community. Our hearts go out to all of you, all the talented people that put these events on. Our hearts go out to you guys, and we're sorry that it's not happening this year, but let's all look forward to a much brighter year next year, and it'll be back in full swing by 2021. So,
And you know, it's not only the Knott's Scary Farm employees and the fans, it's for all Halloween fans, because that time of year, everybody likes to get scared. They like Halloween. It's a short period of time throughout the year, and it's a source of entertainment that's fun, but it also takes your mind off things. And I was kind of hoping that it would take it off today's world, the pressures off today's world. But unfortunately, with the COVID going around, it was not to be. But this is a perfect opportunity to tell an even further story of what Dave and I experienced that really wasn't in the DVD documentary, of really the passion that goes into this from the employees, from the fans. The fans were what really keeps it going because they keep their gates open. And Knott's was doing something right. And you can only understand that is if you've been there.
all right. So the question has been asked a lot of times is, what was the genesis behind Season of Screams? What made us want to do this project? Boy, that's a great question. I could go on for hours about that, but we'll try to keep it as short as possible. But there's definitely a lot of reasons why we wanted to do this.
So what was your first experience? How did you come to find Not Scary Farm?
My first experience with Not Scary Farm was 1977, which was the fifth annual Halloween haunt. Um, One of the things I always remember seeing in the LA Times, and it was part of the entertainment section of the LA Times, I always would see these ads for Not Scary Farm's Halloween haunt, and I always wanted to go, but didn't know much about it because I was fairly young at the time. So in 1977, my girlfriend at the time said, "Let's go to Knott's Berry Farm's Halloween Haunt." And I said, "Okay, let's go." I didn't know much about it. I'd kind of forgotten about the ads that I had seen in the LA Times, but I said, "Sure, why not? Let's check it out. It might be fun. I don't know." I literally thought it was just you go in, you walk through a haunted house, and that was it. And the rest of the park was just normal. So we go. It was a Saturday night, I believe, and the gates open. We immediately turned left and walked into Ghost Town, and I was hit with a wall of fog, and all of a sudden I was being scared to death by, I don't know how many different monsters there were at that time, but they were all over the place and scaring. And they weren't sliding, they weren't doing the traditional slides we see today. They were doing belly flops, and that really scared the crap out of me. And then as we walked around the park, I realized the whole place was decorated and haunted for this event, and that was it. I was hooked, and I was hooked hard, and I pretty much have been going every year since. And coming up, into the 80s, my best friend Scott, who we're talking with, I started telling him about this event, and I'm going to turn it over to him and let him kind of tell you his version of going for the first time.
Why did you tell me? I've it took so much of my life away from me. You son of a, you know what? No, truthfully, it was one of the best experiences. I know that I was just like Dave at the very beginning. Hey, let's go to Knott's Berry Farm at Halloween time. Well, I've been to Knott's Berry Farm, not Halloween time, but it was good. It was fun. Um, but I really wasn't into it. And I had never been to an environment where there are monsters that are wearing prosthetics and the makeup and uh, nothing like this caliber. So I was like Dave at the beginning. I remember standing in line, waiting in line to get into those gates. And we waited. We got there about an hour and a half before the gates opened. And there was a long line. And we're standing there, and everybody, I was watching everybody around the lines, in the lines, and they were all jumpy. They were all excited. Where's that energy coming from? What am I in for? And, you did tell me, you did share that this is going to be something that I've never experienced. Well, gave the ticket in. We go inside the doors. We did just like you were introduced to it. We go to the left. We go through Ghost Town. And I thought, oh my gosh, this fog, how do we even make our way through it? Why do I have to breathe this? There's a monster that just came out of nowhere that I stopped my talking. I stopped my complaining. I started going, okay, I love this. And we continued walking through Ghost Town, and I saw some amazing scares. And I realized for the first time, I kept hearing this high-pitched sound of a scream. And I'm looking around, it's me. I'm screaming like one of the kids, like, oh God, they got me. And when I thought enough was enough, I thought that was it, they would get you again. So no, I was hooked. And the greatest thing was going through the park and realizing that the whole park, this huge amusement park, was nothing but a scare. It was individual zones and stuff. And Dave and I, that was the start. We were hooked. And
Absolutely. And we continued going through the 80s, from 83 all the way to the 2000s. And that kind of brings us to the point of, why did we do Season of Screams, this documentary that was pretty much took every ounce of our time for a couple of years. That was the reason. We both just loved Not Scary Farm so much that we said, this story needs to be told.
We would not only go every year, we would go 4 or 5, sometimes 6 times in a year. And we got to be where all of a sudden we're analyzing everything. We're going, there's a story here. There's a story here. Oh, wait a minute. We do production. You've directed. You've got your own production company. Why don't we do this? Why don't we tell a story? Why don't we tell a story? As we got hooked, we realized that year after year, sometimes we see the same person or same people in line about the same time. And it almost became a joke. There was a couple people that I forgot their nicknames that we gave them, but seven
Ni-
timer,
Nine timer.
nine timer. Well, when we met hit nine timer, he was six timer. And it's just our luck that every year he would be within our area. There was something about the people that attend this that they want to know. And we felt the same thing.
Definitely. And then so, I think Scott and I were both on the same page, but I think it was me that came to him in, I don't know, probably 2000, 2001.
I
I
think
said,
2000.
well, let's go back. So 2001, we released the very first episode of Haunted Media Magazine, which was about the Queen Mary shipwreck. It was called at the time. We worked really hard on producing this episode on that event, because I think the reason we did shipwreck first is because I think I had made some phone calls to Knott's and didn't get through to anybody. So I think we just kind of put it on hold. So, fast forward to 2002, I said, let's do a documentary about, our favorite place. And that's where everything kind of changes, because it's really easy to come up with an idea to do something. So yeah, the challenge is to just produce this documentary. We had to get the right permissions from the marketing department, from the head of entertainment at the time. And they were quite reluctant in the beginning. And Scott did such a great job of schmoozing and selling and talking. He's like a pit bull. He won't take no for an answer, where I'm the opposite. I'll say, oh, okay, I'll just go crawl under a rock now and forget about it. Scott said, no, we're going to do this. So
My role is that I wanted to keep you being creative, because what we were talking about was a lot of work, and it was a lot of writing, a lot of research. One of the things that knowing you and the way you've worked is that you're hands-on on just about everything that you do. But there was a lot of behind the scenes that I knew I was good at, especially with communication and talking to and schmoozing the people. And it was one less pressure that I could take off your shoulders. So you were able to come up with not only a story idea that we ended up working together on, but it would be where you can create the needs to film this. Back then we didn't have the technology as far as film or lighting that they have today.
Well, one of the things you have to kind of think about is, which I think about a lot, is that the equipment we were using at the time was, it was professional equipment, a professional camera, but the resolution was, very archaic and very old by today's standards. I think when we started filming Season Screams, high definition just started to come out of the woodwork and start becoming something that people were using. Before that, everything was shot on what they call 720 by 480 resolution, which what that means is it literally looked like a postage stamp if you looked at it on this screen here. That's how big the video was. So that's what we had to work with, and we didn't have the low light camera technology they have today, so we had to use lights. We had to use a boom mic. We had to use a lot of things that made it really very challenging.
Unlike today, you had 50 pounds of weight on you, where you had a battery belt that was around your waist, and you had like a 25-pound camera on top of your shoulder.
Can you imagine if we would have had the equipment that's available today? The drones, the GoPro cameras, the low light cameras that you can shoot with literally no light, which we both own one today.
But, and the phones. Your phones are great cameras.
My phone has higher resolution and better quality than that big heavy thing I was carrying around back then. So yeah, it's ironic, because I think probably the younger people don't realize what they have available to them, that the young aspiring filmmakers. You have some amazing equipment that we just didn't have back in my earlier days when I was just starting out. We had very cumbersome equipment, and even going back before video, shooting film was just was a lot more complicated and a lot more expensive than what we can do today. So, feel grateful for the equipment you have, because back then it was as good as it was.
It was quite an ordeal. I was very proud that I was part of this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I still wish I had the equipment today back then, because when I watch it, when I watch Season of Screams now, I kind of feel like I'm watching an old 1970s TV show sometimes. But compared to some of the footage you see now of the Halloween Haunt, or I should say, not Scary Farm, it's stunning. It's 4K imagery and cinematic style, and
Wait a minute.
we,
Are you trying to get me excited to do Season of Screams Part 2?
oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I don't know if you remember, I joked around back when we were filming. I said, hey, in 20 years from now, they're going to have hover cams.
That's
Well,
right.
I predicted the first drones, I guess, because now they do have hover cams. So if we would have only had a hover cam back then, that would have been sweet. One of the really cool things about producing Season of Screams is the people we actually got to meet along the way. And thanks to some of the people that were helping us out, like Ted Doherty, we got to meet and interview Bill Hollingshead. Bill was a great guy, and what a great storyteller he was. And we went to his house, we set up the camera, we interviewed him, we got this great and compelling interview, and it was just the story that he was telling. I was completely unaware of that. The whole reason the Halloween Haunt began was because of Larry Vincent, who was, I'll say it like Bill Hollingshead said, who was Seymour. Uh, Seymour was that Master of the Macabre, the guy that hosted horror movies on, Channel 9, Chiller, and Fright Nights. I had no idea that the Halloween Haunt started because of him, literally. And I found that fascinating. It was such a great story.
Bill was an angel. I think one of the things that we were sitting there is that we didn't anticipate the interview that he was going to give us. We thought it was going to be 20 minutes of a few of his experiences, but I think we were at his house for several hours, and every word that he was saying, when I looked at you, I'm sure when you looked at me, it was the same, the open mouth and like, oh my God, this is music to my ears. I never knew all this. And I don't think he's ever shared it like that. And one of the things that we came away with, several things we came away with that interview, is his slogan. Do you remember that slogan?
Gosh, I don't. What was that?
Something about makes men.
Oh, right. Okay,
I
yes.
don't remember. What's it?
Oh, it was uh, makes
See, wouldn't make men faint.
yeah,
Women.
it was something about make women scream, grown men faint, and no, grown men cry. It was grown
Yeah.
men cry, women faint.
Little children laugh, women cry, grown men faint.
I I'll have to look it up, but that was classic.
We'll get back to you on that one. But when he said that,
Right.
it put it all together. And he was very happy what we were doing, because he never got credit and he never got his story told, not like what we did. And
Right.
I think there was appreciation. And he was one hell of a guy.
Really, really appreciate it, and so grateful that we got that interview with him, because I consider that gold, because he was the guy. He was there. And again, he wasn't the only guy, and we all realize that he wasn't the only person that got this event started. But he was I think the first point of contact for Larry Vincent's manager, who called him up and said, "Hey, let's put Seymour in your big theater and have a show." And that's kind of what sparked the whole idea. One of the other people that we met along the way doing this project was Gene Witham.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
Gene?
Yeah. Great guy, too.
Boy, Gene was. I just we met him when we went to the HauntCon convention, and Gene Witham lived in Georgia, so he. I believe it was Ted Doherty that had actually gotten in touch with him for his book and for his website, and let him know that we were going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Gene says, "Well, I'll come down and meet you guys." And so Ted let us know that, and I said, "Well, then I'm bringing the camera because we're going to interview this guy. We need him part of Season of Screams. He was an integral part to that whole event. Gene was a stuntman for years over there at Knott's, but he was also a makeup artist, and he was a very accomplished special effects makeup artist who worked on the original Planet of the Apes. And when the Halloween Haunt started in 1973, he headed up the makeup department and was using those actual Planet of the Apes appliances that he had left over. So that's why if you see some early photos of Knott's from the very first year, you'll see Planet of the Apes characters, roaming the ghost town streets, which always kind of makes me laugh because seeing apes in a ghost town just it's completely it's just weird. But it's kind of like that episode of the Three Stooges where there's a gorilla in the haunted house. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
It's just completely out of place, but
but it worked. It really worked. And I think one thing about Gene compared to Bill is not only did he give us a good interview, his background and hearing how he came up with these things, and wow, he was a great interviewing, great guy. And I just wish we had more time with him. And
absolutely. He was it was such a brief time. We were only there for 2 or 3 days, and he spent the whole time pretty much with us. We interviewed him that one morning, and then he hung out with us, and we went out to dinner. And
yeah,
he had that great voice, that very Hollywood, Western gruff voice.
Right.
Great voiceover person he could have been.
Yeah, we were really lucky to get him. And I do remember, and I think he really enjoyed hanging out with us. I remember he was in the booth, and I just remember he was just a kind, gentle man with that deep voice, and just hearing his stories and his version, I do remember he had an excitement in his voice, just like Bill did. And it started off slow, but boy, once he got going, he was great.
Yeah. One of the other characters that we came across during the making of this was Douglas McEwen, who was the writer. He was Seymour's writer, Larry Vincent's personal writer.
And personal friend, too.
Personal friend, exactly. He worked with him on his Fright Night show and wrote a lot of the gags and the scripts for him in the Fright Night show. Worked with Larry Vincent exclusively, I believe, at the time. And he told us just great stories of who this man Larry Vincent was. I only knew him as a kid when I watched, the Fright Night show. I knew him as, Seymour. He was a spooky kind of guy. One
of the things that he did that was really fun when he would do the movies is he would run a movie from the 50s and 60s, a horror movie, B movie, terrible movie. And yet he would ad-lib to the movie, and you would hear his voice over the movie, which was a riot. I mean, He was a funny guy.
Douglas McEwen did a great imitation of Seymour.
I'll tell you, Fringies, this movie is a real load. Next week's Little Grabber is Invasion of the Animal People. I should warn you, this movie is not as good as it sounds.
And he told the stories about how he would, insult you for watching these B movies and tell you that, get up off the couch and quit wasting your time because these movies are so bad. And I remember that as a kid, and I'm thinking, well, why would he want to tell me not to watch the movie? I thought they would want they would want you to watch it. But Ted Doherty has a recording of the 1973 commercial for Knott's Berry Farm that Seymour did. And he played that for me one time. And it's classic. It's just that typical, hello, Fringies. And he goes on and does that whole bit. But really, really fun. And Douglas was a great guy. And when Seymour hosted the show in 1974 at Knott's Berry Farm, he was very sick.
And a lot of people didn't know that he was really sick. And actually, he had been in the hospital for a month before that. And he did not want to turn his fans down. And for his last performance, he wanted to do it. I mean, he did it for his last performance as saying his goodbye. And he performed. And I remember hearing the stories from just about everyone we interviewed that how good he was, even as sick as he was. I mean, he had to do most of it from a stool.
Yeah, and I remember him sharing that doing the show in '74 when he was when he was so sick. He said that the show actually breathed life back into him and made him feel like, he said the color came back into his skin.
Right.
He was happy. He felt good. And then he passed away the March after that October, which very sad that he left us so soon. But you know, some great memories for sure. So Larry Vincent, as Seymour, hosted the show in what's now known as the Good Time Theater. Back then, it was the John Wayne Theater, I believe, which is their big theater that they do a lot of the big live shows at Knott's Berry Farm. After '74, I remember Bill, you know, talking about, you know, what are we going to do now that Larry's not with us anymore? And that's what led into bringing in Wolfman Jack. He followed up Seymour. He was there for a while. And then, of course, Elvira, you know, came in after Wolfman Jack, and she was there for very many years. And, you know, one of the things that kind of, it's not frustrating, but it's disappointing that we were never able to get her story as part of Season of Screams for, there's a lot of reasons why, and we're not going to go into those, of course, but we recognize that she was a huge part of the Halloween Haunt, and she would have been an amazing addition to Season of Screams, and we really wish she could have been part of it.
I agree. One of the things that I think also for the people that don't know about Wolfman Jack is that he was a radio DJ. He was also in the movie American Graffiti as the DJ.
Yeah.
So for the people that don't know it, and I know that he did a couple years, and then Elvira came in. And it really is sad that we weren't able to get her interview because she has an incredible story too. But she is part of the reason that people would also come back. It was a whole nother phase.
Oh yeah. She was you know, part of the fabric of Halloween Haunt, Knott's Scary Farm for many years. And I think she did her final appearance a couple of years ago, and I missed it. I was very disappointed that I missed her final show, but you know, she was there for a lot of years, and very, very fun show to watch. You know, very campy, and you know, she'd do a lot of fun gags to watch, so it was cool. And then the year we were there was Ed Alonzo, and Ed Alonzo, you know, I think it was his first year in the Good Time Theater, the big theater, and boy, did he knock it out of the park. It was a great show. And
yeah,
that's part of Season of Screams. You can definitely see that, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah, moving on here. So one of the other fun parts of producing the Season of Screams documentary was meeting and filming all the monsters that are part of that incredible event. I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of them. They're all over the place. And, you know, we were fortunate enough to get to meet and actually become friends with some of them during the production. And
a little off subject just for a second. Do you remember when Jack Falfus, he was the president, or he was the main man at Knott's, came to us on one of the filming days? He says, well, how would you guys like to be monsters? And it was like, if we didn't have filming, that was like the dream come true, to be a monster.
Well, yeah. And then what was funny is because I'll never forget, he offered that to us to come back and be monsters for a night. I opted to say, well, we really need we need another night of filming. So I opted to
that's right.
Forego being the monster so we could get some more filming. But yeah, that would have been a fun night if we could have played monsters and gone out there and had some fun. But yeah, I was glad that we got that extra night of filming because we really needed it.
And, you know, for whatever it's worth, if we had that opportunity, I would still be in the hospital today.
Yeah,
because so bad I wanted to do the monster slide.
Right.
And with no equipment, I just wanted to slide once. I knew that once I hit the ground, that was it. I was going to lay there in a puddle. But boy, I wanted to scare. But no, that was a great opportunity that we did trade for an extra day of filming, which was well worth it.
And that's, you know, talking about sliding, is that was the other cool thing to learn about the evolution of sliding. And Knott's Scary Farm was the very first place that sliding started, from what we understand. And you know, we got to interview and meet Todd Stubler, who is a veteran Ghost Town monster, and he told an incredible, compelling story about how sliding evolved from what they were doing back in the 80s when we first started going. And I remember the guys would just do belly flops or baseball type slides. And I'd watch them and just cringe thinking that's gotta hurt. And then coming back in the 90s and seeing the evolution of the guys that, would slide for 30, 40, 50, 60 feet, and you'd watch them and you just go, how do they do that? It's amazing. That was a really cool part of Season of Screams, and we dedicated a whole segment to it. So
not only do they practice for their own ability and their own scare tactic, they also have to practice to make sure that everybody's safe. Because
Right.
once they go into a slide and they got all that energy and force going forward, they're the ones that are in control of it, and you never know how a person's going to react. And hearing some of their stories, some of these monsters took a lot of hits unnecessary, but they wanted to save the guest. But to see that scare tactic used in all the theme parks today and all the haunted commercial haunted houses is amazing, because it started from Knott's, and Knott's created that. I wouldn't say that. Knott's didn't create it. The monsters created it.
that's right.
I think we all came away, and I think we were able to show it in the documentary, that there is a lot more to these monsters than what you see and what they do. It's a lot of training and it's a lot of preparation. I remember months before that we would film, we'd go and watch them rehearse and practice. And with you on getting that movie camera shot of, where you're sliding right alongside them. You're not sliding, but you're on your rollerblades. You got some incredible footage, and you made it for the viewers of the documentary. You kind of gave them that feel of what it's like. And I think that was awesome.
And then it goes right back to, today you have gimbals, which are like, high quality steady cams, which a steady cam back then was, 20, 30, 40 grand, or you could rent one for the day for like 2,000.
Which we have done in the past.
And you have to be specially trained on how to use this thing. But today you got gimbals that you can just buy for a couple $100, and you get these beautifully smooth shots, which the only way I could get that was holding my camera, by the handle and trying to rollerblade, which I was never a professional rollerblader or even that good of a rollerblader. I was probably an intermediate at best. And I'm trying to keep up with these guys sliding during the practice session. And at least I got a few shots but the thing is, I couldn't even see what I was shooting. I just had to hope in prayer that it was going to come out, and it got a couple pieces out of it, and it looks okay. We did the best we could. We worked with what we could work with. We didn't have any money. Nobody gave us a budget to do this. We didn't have, ourselves didn't have out-of-pocket money that we could afford to get higher end equipment. So
Yep.
we literally did the best we could with the equipment we had at our disposal. So, if I look at it today, I cringe because of how it looks, but that's just me being critical. But, when you see footage shot today, it's just night and day. So you can't even compare, but,
And having a drone do what you did physically.
yeah.
So that would have been completely different.
And just to get the aerial shots of the event at night, to see the fog below and see all the massive crowds, you that's the thing you can't get from watching the documentaries. You can't imagine the crowds that come into the gates when they first open and they swarm into Ghost Town, and the Ghost Town monsters smell the blood and they just go to work. And boy, it's an event to see. And I wish the camera could have captured that in a 360 format in a way, because the camera doesn't do it justice. You really need to experience that live in person and see that just amazing immersive experience unfold. So one of the things I'd like to mention before we completely close out is we started a Season of Screams store, merchandise store, where we're selling t-shirts, hats, posters, canvas art. The address for that store is seasonofscreams.store. The reason we're selling merchandise is not just for the heck of it. We're doing it for a really great cause. And I'm going to let Scott talk about that more, but I just want to let you know, understanding that these are difficult times, you may not be able to afford a t-shirt or hat right now, and that's okay. But we just wanted to let you know that we do have this store, but it's for a good cause. I'll let Scott talk about the cause, and then we'll wrap it up.
So the causes for lupus, lupus is a disease. It's an autoimmune disease, which means that your immune system and the body system that usually fights infections can't fight it. And it affects your organs, it affects your skin, it affects your kidneys, and it affects your heart. Somebody very dear to me has lupus, my wife, Michelle. She was diagnosed 5 years ago with it. We have gone through ups and downs. This time last year, I almost lost her because of it affecting her so bad with all the medication. There is no cure for lupus at this time. So what I have done is I put together my website, which is scarewithcare.org. And you can get a lot of information on lupus as well as donate, or you can donate to lupuswisconsin.org. That's LUPUSWIORG. Just remember that 200,000 people a year get diagnosed with this, and there is no cure. Like I said, anyone can develop this. So this is my motivation. This is my way of trying to raise additional information, funds, and awareness. So with that being said, Dave and I had talked about that we have still a few boxes of some of the greatest Haunted Media DVD magazine issues. So if you are interested in purchasing a DVD of Season of Screams, and Dave will go more into this information, for that purchase, plus a little extra for shipping and handling, you'll get 3, until the limit runs out, until we run out of them, they will get 3 or 4 Haunted Media issues for free. And a portion of all the proceeds will go to the Lupus Foundation of America, Wisconsin chapter. To find more information about that, it's separate. It's scarewithcare.org. So what I'm hoping is that people will be interested in buying either a hat, a shirt, a DVD, and they'll get free merchandise. So this is my gift and Dave's gift of a long career that we've had together, and also for the documentary, the one-of-a-kind documentaries.
One thing I'll mention is that both Scott and I were under the impression that Season of Screams was completely sold out. The DVD was completely sold out. But when Scott moved to Wisconsin, he uncovered a box. So it's kind of nice that we actually found a few left. So we thought, well, even though Season of Screams is on YouTube and you can watch it for free, there might be some folks out there that would like to have a keepsake, a souvenir, if you will, of the DVD. So, that's going to be part of the store as well if you'd like to buy a copy of it. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules and all this to kind of tune in and hang out with us while we did this episode. Let's just wrap this up. This is our episode 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you could hit the like button and subscribe for us, that would really help. We are definitely looking forward to seeing you in our next video. So in the meantime, please stay healthy and safe out there, and try to have a great Halloween no matter what the circumstances are this year. Thank you.
Keep coming back, guys.